Hello guys, Dan here. I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to play and finish Beneath today. It's going to be quite a basic tutorial, hopefully, where I just run through a new game and then beat all the bosses and finish. And I'll try and talk about some interesting things like to do with the lore and to do with upgrades and progression throughout the run. Hopefully it's somewhat interesting to everybody, and if you are having a difficult time with the game, then this will be really useful. And if you're not having a difficult time and you're just here anyway, then that's very cool of you, thank you. But I've tried to record this a couple of times before, and I've kind of got bogged down making it super long and explaining how everything works, so I'm going to just do a run of it. I hope that this is a useful guide in the end. What I'm going to do is get into a game and finish it, and that's hopefully the way this is going to go. And I am going to try and along the way, as I said, explain bits of the lore, bonus bits about the game, things to do with the progression and the grindy aspect of Beneath, which is a roguelite simulator, if you're not aware. It's kind of a bit of a staple in gaming. The idea is you descend into an area. It's randomly generated every time, which is quite cool. In fact, random generation works really well in single player, not as well in multiplayer, but it's pretty good. And you kill enemies, collect lots of loot and energy and gold, and then get upgrades with the energy. And gold gives you upgrades during the same run. We'll get into that in a minute. The absolute first thing I'm going to do is have a very, very quick look around the facility just to show you, that side of the game. Something people often overlook is the stuff that you can work out about this from looking around the facility. So there's not a lot in here. There is, however, this empty room at the back. There's no indication this is important now, but it becomes very important a bit later on. Then we have some server rooms, and there's nothing of great importance, but there is a very important room somewhere. It's a little classroom where people are receiving training on Beneath. And this is really useful for understanding what you're meant to be doing in the game. Even though most people never look around this area, it is quite useful to give you. It gives you clues. If you don't want to look things up on the wiki or watch videos like this, then you can even stop watching the video now and go back to this, have a look around the facility and see if you can work out how some of the progression works. But it is super complicated and a bit weird, so I really don't have any problem with working this out just by looking it up or getting a guide. In fact, that's what I did on my first ever go, so don't worry. This is a very helpful diagram because it tells you this thing that you can find very late on in Ruins 1, in one of the runs, is very important. It's very useful, but it doesn't really give you much information about what you're meant to do with it. This is really important advice, actually, for the game. It's like a class that you can take, almost. Use your compass, which appears at the top of the screen. Always be armed, so always have a weapon in your hand. Conserve energy, which is important if you need to use a power suddenly. Be vigilant, which is just keep looking around, because enemies are quiet occasionally, and do sneak up on you and do shoot you at random across the map. It happens. Use your speed advantage, and then there's a little bit of lore here about the scenarios, which is not too relevant. And then this is a nice diagram that illustrates we have 3 big bosses to defeat and then one final boss. And there are some smaller bosses along the way, which we'll get to. So let's just go and do it. Let's do it. There will be timestamps if you want to skip to when I'm doing an important thing. But the main point of this is I'm going to play you through Beneath and explain what's going on as I'm doing everything. I'll be playing as a Spectre, by the way, and that's so I can run quickly and so I can enchant weapons along the way that makes them more effective. But I would recommend you play as a Brawler on your first couple of goes because you have quite a lot of health and you do quite a good amount of damage. Even though you're not super fast, the speed is mostly useful for speedrunning itself. It is useful for avoiding enemies' attacks sometimes, but it isn't always the most useful thing. So the fact is the speed that the Spectre has is outweighed greatly by the fact that you have almost no health at all. It's not brilliant. Now the first thing that's important to notice is the guys in the first area are pretty weak. You can get a bit of gold from them. As I said earlier, there's a compass at the top of the screen, and the blue arrow always points to the next level down. So wherever the blue arrow is, you go to Caves 2, Caves 3, then eventually Crystal Caverns 1, Crystal Caverns 2, Ruins 1, Ruins 2, and Ruins 3. That's the normal progression. The enemy I just killed there is a gremlin. If you happen to see one, kill it immediately because it gives you a bit of energy and it gives you loads of gold, which is really useful for getting small upgrades. And you can spend all of your gold in these shops that appear randomly throughout each segment. There's one shop in every sector, so Caves 1 has one shop, Caves 2 has one shop as well, sorry. And you can upgrade the number as you go. I'm going to get weapon conservation, there's a little perk on the end, which gives you more durability. And you can spend the energy you get here with this guy in the corner, and you can only do it with these people in these shops. That's the only place, except for on the bridges, which is between Caves and Crystal Caverns. It'll make sense a bit later if you're not familiar at all. I would probably advise you to continue to go for health and weapon durability, because with every class that's good, but in the long run, when you're doing a lot of grinding in this game, if it takes you a lot of attempts to get to all of the bosses, you probably want to go for good weapons, and the absolute best weapon is a katana. So I'm going to put all my 12 into that for now, just in case. And when you're leaving the shop, people will have crowded around. I would recommend you just run past them, because for a moment they aren't locked onto you, and I'm not sure why. I think it's just a balancing thing. There's a big room full of enemies I'm going to kill to get some money. But one of the important things that you should know about this game is that you don't need to kill any of the enemies unless you're in Ruins 1 and you get stuck in a room with lots of them. You can just wait out almost every single area and then go through the door to the next area. And then you do need to kill the bosses eventually, obviously, but right now it's not super important, so don't worry too much. You can just go past enemies if you're struggling. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I'm doing it just to get a bit of gold, a couple of upgrades. And as I said, I would really recommend putting energy towards the katana specifically, possibly other weapon upgrades as well. If you get other weapon upgrades in addition to the katana, then the katanas don't spawn less frequently. They all just have the same kind of spawn rates. It's pretty good to get lots of weapon upgrades. I would recommend the gladius as well, possibly even the flaming spear, and because it has a huge amount of damage, even though the durability is pretty terrible. Now, when you fight against these crystal crabs, the absolute #1 thing you want to do is hit them in the legs, because the only place they can really take damage is the legs. They do take damage on the crystal part as well, but it's much less. And I would recommend that you run away from them as soon as they're charging up for a laser. Then as they're about to fire, change direction a couple of times, and then move in one direction, because they use path sort of predictive firing, if you like, where they try and guess where the player's going to end up at a certain point. If you can try and fox it like that, that's good. Occasionally, crouching right before it fires is good, because it aims for sort of near your head. So if you're a bit brave, you can go for that. Or you can just run away completely, and that is usually pretty good as well. The alternative is, if there's only 1 or 2 of them, you can definitely kill them before they become a serious threat, as long as you have a sharp weapon, because it can sever their leg instantly rather than just dealing damage. And I found another one of these. I might just swap out my slightly damaged sword for this one. If you're not aware, enchanting is really good for durability and damage. So if you happen to be playing multiplayer Beneath, then get yourself a friend who's a Spectre, and then just have them enchant all the weapons. It's usually my job, to be honest, because I like the Spectre class a lot because of speed. And it's useful to have someone who's a vanguard to make the healing circle as well. That's usually pretty good. I would say that's a pretty good combo. But if you have the brawler as well, they can be at the front and do most of the killing for you, if you're worried about taking too much damage. Now you've got these mutant zombies who swing at you. As soon as they're about to do that, just jump away. They have an insanely big range, so fighting them up close, if you don't get the kill on them straight away, it's very dangerous. The other guys aren't so bad, they're pretty reasonable. Now if there's another floating head, I'll demonstrate my fighting technique for the floating head, which is a bit risky, but it's pretty good. They have the same thing where they try and predict where the player is going to move to after a certain period of time. So, there's another gremlin, very good. Right, there is definitely 1 gremlin on each floor, I should say, but they're not necessarily on the right path towards the exit, so you're not necessarily going to find the gremlin every time. It's not really a problem if you don't find them, unless you're trying to speedrun or something. Then you could really do the finding them. Down here there's an orange arrow on the compass you may have seen. This leads to a little room with an enemy, well not an enemy, it's actually an ally called the Apostate, and it closes up like this, don't worry. All you need to do is kill the enemies in this room, and then you get a guy in the facility, who I'll talk about later on. This is probably worth doing, but bear in mind, if you never go into this room with the orange arrow, then you never fight these little guys called Shard Lords, which are annoying bosses that you have to deal with occasionally. They aren't too bad, but because you can always just leave and run away from them pretty much all the time. Certainly not the end of the world if you have to fight Shard Lords, but you don't have to fight these small bosses at all if you never free the Apostate, unless you're in a sector later on in the game called Islands, which again, when I get there I'll talk about that. Now the floating heads have this range mode and charge. Whoops, I messed that one up completely. They can't use it at all, or attack you at all, like back to back. It takes them a while to recharge it, but as soon as they're about to do it, they are way weaker than usual. I think that they have something like 4 times less defense, or 4 times less health in that mode. So as soon as their eyes light up, if you stand near them, you can then get a massive hit on them. Really effective way to fight them. There's apparently still an enemy left in here, that's interesting. Oh, it's you. Sorry. Whoop. Again, change direction quickly at the end and hopefully you'll be fine. Particularly if you're a brawler, you can actually survive the hits from that. Spectre less so. You can just about survive, but not quite. So, the Shard Law is enraged. All that means is that there are now more enemies to fight if you want. You can run away from pretty much all of them, unless you're in islands, which again, when we're at islands, I'll talk about it. But islands is not on the main progression, as in you can't just follow blue arrows the whole way to get to islands at any point. But now we're going to leave Caves 2. I think I'm pretty satisfied here. There we go. And we're into Caves 3. Caves 3 doesn't introduce any new enemies that Caves 2 didn't already. You still have the minions, which I would recommend just leaving. And then as soon as their lasers finish, go back and they have nothing. If you really want to kill them. They do give you more energy than you would imagine. So they are actually worth killing if you can avoid them. Up until that point. Now when floating heads aren't enraged, they also have... their health is actually not that bad. But I would recommend not bothering to fight them at all. Unless you're doing it one by one. And you've got that enraged mode set up. Okay, sorry. A few enemies in here, quite a lot. Changing directions quickly. He actually fired over me because he thought I was going to keep going up, so jumping right before it is also very possible. I always forget to do that because I'm always quite scared of that. If your timing, is very good and you do it right before he fires, it'll work, but otherwise it's a bit risky. So on this segment as well, and Caves 2 I should say, you need to find a particular kind of room to progress. It's a room that has a ramp that goes down, and it can look like a lot of different things. But it will probably look kind of like there's just a slope that descends down. There's nothing crazy about it, really. Okay, I'm going to have to go back through here and try and locate it again. There's nothing really difficult about finding it usually, as long as you just keep clearing out lots of rooms. So there's not here, and the shop is nearby somewhere. Oh, I think I've already... okay, there we go. Is that a sword? Yes, I'll have that sword, thank you. I need to wait until I've got more power to enchant it again, but it's fine. Obviously, if enemies start chasing you down a corridor, you can either stand and fight or try and run over them. Usually running over them is actually very, very effective, so don't worry too much about that. Minions have a different principle to the floating heads, in the sense if you attack them quickly enough, they don't have a chance to get their ability out. Again, if you change direction quite quickly, just run in a specific direction right at the end, then they can't really hit you, and then only aim for the legs. I'm just going to say that a few times because they're kind of a dumb enemy in terms of how they can just wreck you. So there we go. You can see we've already found a shard law. This is probably the worst one in the whole game to find, so I'm just going to totally ignore it. This crawler is kind of silly amount of health, kind of silly damage, so I'm going to leave straight away and go to Crystal Caverns, which is alright. But you see there I went down one of the drop-down rooms, which allows you to just get into the next area, because the blue arrow is always pointing downwards at the start of Caves 2 and 3, and Crystal Caverns 1 and 2. It's very important that you try and find the room that goes down if you want to get to the blue arrow. If you want to get to the next zone, sorry. That's what it is. Once again, when you're on the bridge, you get another one of these guys, and in every shop, so you can. This is a great opportunity to just save all the energy you've got. And as soon as I put the energy in here, so I'm just spamming for the katana, sorry. That is now saved forever on the save file, even if you die immediately, that's saved. This is a good perk called Caffeine Hit, where you can attack people faster. Sorry, there's a text message I've got. This is not very professional, but it's from checking. Okay. Let's move on to Crystal Caverns. So Crystal Caverns introduces a couple of new enemies, so it's important to try and know what you're up against. Again, minions, if you can attack them quickly enough, they're worth going for. If not, don't worry. Now, there are quite a few things to discuss on Crystal Caverns, actually. There's an enemy called the Boar Worm. If you stay far away from them, they can do fuck all. It's going to be absolutely fine. Sorry for the language, I do often swear on this channel, but people are always surprised. So, if you stay away from them, they can't do anything. But they appear right below you like this. And then they just come up right next to you. And then if you get near them, they can do a striking attack. They can do 2 or 3 or 4 of these chained together before they finally go away again. It's quite bizarre. They aren't really that strong. You can usually get them in 1 or 2 hits with an enchanted sword, 3 or 4 with a normal katana or another blunt weapon like the pickaxe. They're not bad. I wouldn't bother going for them really, because as long as you keep moving around, they will never be a problem. So you keep moving is my absolute #1 advice. Have breaks between the levels on the bridges and stuff. Just try and blitz it a little bit. It is genuinely good to go fast in this. Now, in Crystal Caverns, there are some very, very good weapons called Crystal Swords, and this is not one of them. There are two things they can possibly look like, and you can try and find them on these little patches of glowing green rock. This is also not one, this is a crystal shard, which breaks quickly and it's a very weak blunt. But there are two particular, slightly rarer kinds called crystal swords. And these are some of the best weapons you can find in Beneath, believe it or not. Certainly the best weapons you can get for free. Here's one of them. So this is one of this is what one of them looks like. And if you enchant this, it's basically as good as a katana. Even when you're not enchanting it, it's as good as a rusty katana by itself, I would say, possibly. It is a really, really good weapon which has cutting action or slicing, like a sword, which means it's really good at killing enemies by sort of not cutting their legs off, for example. Which, if you don't know, in this game is an instant kill on enemies where you can cut their leg off. If you do cut their leg off, then it's an instant kill, which is great. It's really, really good if you get one of these. It's a great weapon. Obviously, it has less range than the sword, but it's not too bad by any means because the damage really makes up for it, in my opinion. I think I might have I already come this way? This is me being a little bit forgetful. No, okay, so you want to get to this room to progress. This is the drop-down room in Crystal Caverns, and it always looks like this. There's always a slope going downwards. So you need to get to this if you want to progress a bit further. I'm going to... I think one of these might be a crystal sword. Yeah, so this is the second kind of skin of a crystal sword. It can either look like this, or like this. Like so, these are the two, and then everything else is scrap, to be honest. I mean, it'll do in an emergency, the crystal shards. They look a bit like this sometimes. If it goes off the top of your screen, it's no good. If it's small and very sharp, or if it looks kind of like it could be a sword, I suppose. Those are the two ones that look... Those are the two ones that are usable weapons, and they're great weapons. I really recommend picking them up. I've tossed my katana for them, partly because the katana was very broken, but they're also really good. The blue crystal crabs behave in exactly the same way as the red ones. You just have to employ the same strategy. They do more damage, of course. Then there are these guys, called crystal entities. And these are actually a really good way to fight people if you get into a room with a couple of these guys. As long as you don't let them hit you, they can actually do damage to enemies, which is a bit unusual in this game for the enemy characters at all. But they can charge up a little current, or sorry, some sort of ball of electricity. And then if you just stand in the path of a zombie... Whoop, okay, somehow they're missing them all completely. There we go. So those guys are both dead because they've been hit by the electric charge. These guys do... They are completely worthless when they're not charging up electricity. They can't attack you. So just go for them if they're not charging, or if they've just hit somebody. Absolutely fine. Just go in for them. There's no risk. It should be fine, as far as I'm aware anyway. I hope that's true. Pretty confident it's true. There is a path through here. I just completely forgot the direction that I entered the room in. If you get into a big fight, that is bound to happen, so don't worry too much. Is there an exit to this room at all? There may not be. It does happen sometimes. It's very unusual if this shouldn't really happen to you in your game, so I apologise. There we go. Okay, there is an exit. It's an unusual one that I'm not familiar with. Then there's this enemy, called the Hydra. And it spits fire, and then when you get too close to it, it attacks you. And you can only kill it in a realistic or helpful way if you have a sharp weapon like a crystal sword, and you can cut all of its heads off. But I would probably just leave them alone because they're really, really slow. And if you don't, as long as you're not very near one, you have no danger. And they don't give you a huge amount of money or energy or anything like that. It's particularly worth leaving them alone if you haven't got a sharp weapon because they are near enough unkillable. Just don't worry about it too much. Now, it's a good time towards the end of Crystal Caverns 1 if you're thinking of doing quite a lot of progress within just a few runs. And don't worry about this too much if you haven't thought about it. If you're not thinking of doing this super quickly, if you're just happy to have a good understanding of the game, don't worry. But this is a good time to think about the Pursuer Capture Device. So it's the thing we saw on the whiteboard at the start of the game in the facility. There's a thing called the Pursuer Capture Device. And it's available in one shop in the whole game, in Ruins 1. And it is really, really useful. You need it for progression, I should say. It's not a weapon as such, it's just kind of a tool that you can buy. And to buy it you need 1500 gold. So as long as you have about 1500 gold going into Ruins 1, you can get it without any fuss. But otherwise you need to collect 1500 gold inside Ruins 1, because you can't go backwards and forwards between the zones in Beneath, it's not possible. You can go forwards, obviously, to a new one, but then you can't go back again, sorry. Crystal Caverns 2 is very similar, but we have the teleporter. Which is, wait, do the teleporter... Oh, okay, now I'm questioning my own judgment. I think teleporters only spawn in Crystal Caverns 2, and then they spawn in Ruins as well. It's a new enemy type. I don't think they spawn in Crystal Caverns 1 unless I'm very much mistaken. I'm so sorry if that's the case. I'm pretty sure they only spawn in Crystal Caverns 2 and onwards. I think I'm a little bit lost right now. Again, the ball worms are a bit of a pain. You can just leave them alone completely and run away. As long as you're always moving, you will never have issues with them. See, it's popped up over here. I can just jump past it and jump past it again. Obviously, I'm on the Spectre, which is quite fast, but even if you're a slower class, you probably won't be hit by it. It's always good to be safe with it. You can try and bait out an attack, but because they can chain so many together, it's not really safe. Oh, damn, hang on. This is a bit unfortunate. Obviously, with the Crystal Crabs, if you go around a corner straight away, they can't really do anything. So that's good. And you can see my Crystal Sword is still going, astonishingly. I'm actually quite surprised by this. I thought for sure it would have broken by now. Or I should have done. But you can always try and find a new one. That was a Crystal Shard. That's a Crystal Shard in that person's hand. And it's a Crystal Sword again, even though they're meant to be possibly a bit rarer than this. Or the idea is it's meant to be just too dangerous to look for them. Yeah, I'm finding a few of them today. This is good. That doesn't feel correct to me. There's quite a lot of things beneath which are just based on intuition. This looks kind of correct to be the next room. What do you really want for this drop-down room? And I'm not joking when I say this. It turns right, and then it snakes around to the left. And that is the drop-down room. You can always tell, oh yeah, I'm on a good track. And here's one of the teleporters. They have a ranged attack, which is not too bad at all. Doesn't predictive fire at all. You just have to move out of the way. It goes in a straight line. But if you can possibly help it, don't get too close to them, because they have a really big reach on their attack. They have, they're a bit like the Deceiver if you've ever encountered them in an arena challenge. They are really, really difficult to deal with at close range. I would try at long range if you possibly can. It's even worth throwing an enchanted sword at them if you really want to kill them, because you can probably retrieve it and they will probably die in one hit. Whoops, I nearly didn't move out the way of that correctly. It's fine. Obviously we found the drop-down room, so we're now on our way. We have 4,200 gold, which is really useful. We can definitely buy the Pursuer Capture Device with that. Also, the fees I keep paying on the doors at every subsequent place, you don't have to pay at all if you don't want to. If you just take long enough, they won't be there. But it's to sort of scapegoat against people just running straight to the finish. You know, obviously, you have to spend some time with the enemies. It's a little bit tedious, but as long as you kill enough enemies, you have no problem. Much better to fight them one-on-one than try and avoid them all at once, I guess. So once again, I'm going to bank all of my energy here on the Katana, which I would also, again, recommend putting into health, possibly weapon durability, if you can. Reflect 50% of block damage is really not too bad because I have a shield at the moment. There are shields all over the place. If you enchant them, then, or if you enchant a weapon, then the shield gets enchanted with it as well. So it's really good in that respect. So I'm going to have a sip of water. Right. I apologise if I'm talking quickly to do with this game, but it should be obvious what I'm doing, even if my dialogue is a bit unhelpful. So, in Ruins 1, we need to find the shop, and the shop looks like it's quite close by to me, so we just have to head over here, somewhere like this. There are a few new enemies in Ruins, which I'll talk about, but I'm going to go to the shop first and get the capture device. Actually, no, can we get... Is there a turning around here? There is a turning around here, it could be this way. So... Ruins has a few new enemies that are... There is a kind of a way of fighting all of them. Here are two of them. This is the Leaper, and it leaps at you as soon as it locks on. Oh, Jesus, sorry, I didn't even see that mutant. That was poor. I had to buy some health from the shop. And there's the Interceptor. This guy has a surprisingly devastating attack. So you've got to be very careful of this. They behave just like a normal enemy in that respect, though. You can just get them after they've attacked. The Ballworm really is a bit of an exception to that, in the sense it can just chain and chain and chain attacks. If people have shields, go for them in the head. I think that should be fairly obvious, but the Leapers lock onto you, and then after they've done their jump, they have nothing, so you can go in for them after they've jumped. In the few seconds after the jump, it's pretty useful. Same with the Interceptors. As soon as they've done an attack, you can go in for them like that. There we go, that's not too bad. I'm not fussed about the floating heads particularly. Right, the shop is just around the corner. There are a couple more enemies I'll talk about soon. So this is the item we need. It doesn't actually say what it is. It just says, you know, none of the items actually do. The perks do explain, but this is the Pursuer Capture Device, and it's a really important item you need. And it's only sold in the Ruins 1 shop, so in that respect it's very important. I'm going to get some health as well. There's at least one of these in all the shops. And there's also at least one of these health upgrades in all the shops, but I'm not going to bother with that for now. There's also this, which allows you to work out where the next zone is if you're really lost. And I think if you look for long enough, that should never be a problem. But it's not too expensive, so you can always come back to the shop and use it if you can't find a way. Now, this is useful if you just want to get the Pursuer done quickly. If you've not seen the Pursuer before in this game, he's kind of a scary, nearly invincible enemy who arrives with a black cloak and just flies through everything. But there are a couple of important things about the Pursuer which I will try and talk about in this segment. Okay, so another thing about ruins. Sorry, I'm explaining a lot, but it should become obvious sooner or later. This is one of these rooms where you have to kill specific enemies to get out of it, and they all have little red markers pointing to them. So there's a floating head, another floating head. Again, I would wait for them to finish their rage mode, but I can't be bothered. Here is the Pursuer, though. And the Pursuer does something really interesting. If you allow the Pursuer to travel through enemies that you're fighting, it's a little bit hard to set this up because it's fucking, there are enemies everywhere, etc. If he travels through enemies, they dissolve into skeletons, and you can actually pick up health from them. You can gain a little bit of your health back that you've lost. These little red cubes. So if you know how to control the Pursuer and know about the Pursuer's range and everything, you'll be alright. The Pursuer gradually speeds up, but isn't that fast. You can outrun it walking as a Spectre, and you can outrun it running as a Brawler for ages, so don't worry too much. But once you have the Pursuer capture device, that was a bit risky, I shouldn't have gone for that. You can just place it down with left click, or activate, or attack if you're on console. And then you have the Pursuer fly through it like this, and then the Pursuers to the facility. So we're all good, we don't have to worry about them on this level anymore. And then that is done. That is progress that you have, definitely, if you get that. That's progress to an Elder God that's a bit later on, one of the bosses I've talked about. So that's really good, we've got that, and now we need to go to the exit. There's another type of enemy in Ruins called the Giant Mage, who we haven't really seen yet, who has a devastating magic ability, but is luckily very weak, so it's not too serious. I think they only appear from Ruins 2 onwards though, so it's don't worry too much straight away. Where are the enemies? Okay, Interceptor again, you can go in for them before they're aggroed or just after, you'll be fine. Leapers are exactly the same. Whoop, that was nearly a health loss. Cool. This sword is probably on the verge of breaking, but I have bought the Katana upgrade, so in theory I should now be able to find Katanas, which are better when they're enchanted than these little things. They have a bit more durability, I think, and the range is better. Other than that, I think the damage is actually quite similar, but it's good. So that's the Giant Mage back there. I'll just go and have a fight to prove what it can do. The annoying thing about them, really, is that minions can protect them sporadically. So you need to get the minions first. And then, when the minion's protecting them, they can't attack you at all. Whoops, hang on, that shouldn't have happened. The minion can't attack you at all, so it's alright. And when the Giant Mage is summoning, they can't do anything. Usually 2 hits with the enchanted swords and 4 or 5 with blunts is really not too bad to get the Giant Mages. The trouble really is that they're usually surrounded by other enemies. That's true with a lot of stuff on Ruins, so I would absolutely advise taking it one room at a time on every section of the game. But Ruins 1 particularly, if you want to get lots of kills and lots of money and lots of energy, one section at a time is absolutely essential. And corridors you can take very slowly as well, as long as you've killed everything in the room that you just came from, because then there's no way you'll be snuck up from behind. So that's alright, but I really need to find a new weapon at this point. I've not used any of my powers really, except for enchant, because it will just sort of confuse the proceedings. I'm happy going at this pace. But the other abilities that we have as a Spectre are Teleport and Super Speed. Super Speed is good from time to time, yeah. So that's alright. But it's not really useful for showing what's going on in the game, so I've not used it yet. This might be one of those, I call them cage matches, where you have to kill specific enemies to leave, but I don't think there's an official name for them. I'm just going to ignore most of these enemies if that's alright. Try and get a little bit closer to the blue arrow. Again, you can just sort of approximately follow it and you'll probably get somewhere close. There's not really a guaranteed way to path it out, sadly. Is this where we came from? No. Interesting. I thought that was a katana briefly, but it's a spear gun. I should really do the... oops. Couldn't get past him. No problem. I should do the do's and don'ts of Beneath weapons at some point, but I'll put a tier list on the screen right now that just says, you know, here are some good weapons, here are some bad ones, in my opinion, in Beneath. There are some that are in there for specific reasons, but don't worry. It's probably not that useful to people. I'm just saying I think there are some weapons which are total scrap. This is one of them, I should say. It is pathetic how little damage this thing does, and even though you get quite a lot of ammo with it at the start, it is kind of just hopeless. These guys, which in rage mode can die to the hit of 2 blunts, will just not die to the spear gun at all. You can use all the ammo when they're not in rage mode and it won't get them. Because I did a bit of damage when they were in the rage mode, they might die to this. Nope, not even that is enough. The actual spear gun, once it's run out of ammo, is a better weapon than the spears it shoots, which is quite sad. Okay, there's another rusty katana, we'll take that for now. That'll do. And then at the end of Ruins 3 there is a boss fight, which is quite important. It's the first boss that most people will ever fight in the game. Whoops, okay, I don't know what happened there, to be honest. We found a normal katana finally, so I'm going to wait until I can enchant this. And there's also an enemy called a statue here, which I should talk about. Wait, was there a giant mage there? There was, okay. So the giant mages shoot out this magic. You can block it, by and large, if you have a good shield. But you really just want to run away from it, and then weave around some corners, and weave behind pillars and things. And just try and get the hell out of there. It does so much damage and knocks you back so much. It is a nightmare. Right, those guys are dead. Again, teleporters just have that projectile. Get in and out as quickly as possible. Recoil as quickly as you can from teleporters. Super dangerous. These guys, again, are not seriously threatening, but they are annoying. Did the Giant Mage summon these floating heads? So the Giant Mage can also summon stuff occasionally. It's very annoying, but it's you can deal with it again. One of the nice things about being in these rooms, I should say, is that you can't be snuck up on again. Nothing can enter or leave. So as long as you haven't killed all the enemies with these marker, then you only have to deal with stuff in here. And usually there are enough weapons around the edges that you can kind of clear them out. So it's not too bad. Obviously, I know I'm saying all this having played quite a lot of the game, but I do think it's not too bad in terms of what the game offers you to beat these. There are bits and pieces, whatever you bring in with you is going to be useful. In an emergency, throw a shield. Does quite a lot of damage when it's enchanted. Does about the same as a blunt baseball bat hit when it's not enchanted, I discovered recently. The statues are not hard at all. You have to get behind them. It's really the idea, and then keep hitting them. I'm doing a downward strike here because I've got no risk of being attacked, which is where you hold block and then hold the attack button. Assuming that's on in the settings. Nice, no problem. As long as you keep going behind them, they turn around very slowly. They do hit with quite a devastating ferocity, but it's not really very serious. It's a demonstration of the timer running out, which it does at a fixed number of gold on every section. 700 for this, 600 for the previous, 500 for the previous, etc. That's good, and that's what happens. It just runs out eventually. You don't have to pay to get through it if you don't want to. You can even sit in those little cage match rooms for a long period if you want and just try and whittle down the timer if you have no gold available. But now we're in Ruins 3, and the gold we have will always reset at the end of each run, and because the boss that you fight at the end of this is the end of the run, categorically, we might as well go and spend all the gold we have in the next time we see the shop. And you want to make sure, if possible, that you have a spare weapon going into the fight. But there are weapons inside the fight that are very useful as well. So we're going to try and find the shop first. Sorry. We're going to try and find the shop. It's somewhere on the left-hand side. Again, it's just intuition and guessing for this. You get a rough marker on the compass, but it's not usually perfect by any means. Well, obviously, it points to the exact thing, but it doesn't. You can't always follow it by any means. Right, is that a giant mage again? Yeah, so again, just run away. If you can possibly like flank around the pillar super hard on the inside, that is a really good way of avoiding it, because the magic usually tries to pathfind directly to you and crashes. Whoops, okay. Up close, these guys only have one attack which hurts you, and you can just block every time. It's very useful. This is not a cage match, which is good news. So I can go through here. Shop should be nearby now, I would really hope so. I've had the shield for a long time. It might be a little bit low on durability, but it should be alright. Shields can break, if you're not aware. I suspect I'm just running around all these things. Sorry, I want to get to the fight to make an interesting point of it. I think that it should be just around the corner here, the shop at this point. Yes, very nice. So I'm going to go and spend all the money we have. I'll get a... Should I get a speed boost? Yeah, I'll get a speed boost. A health boost, and we can't really get anything else. That's a bit of a shame. Oh, there's a metal shield you should get. This is a better version of the shield. It just deflects more damage. And the metal shields can even deflect quite a lot of the laser damage that enemies do, which is really useful. You can also get shotguns. I think these aren't much match for a katana, but if you have a katana and a shotgun, this would be really useful. Ruins obviously does have better equipment for sale, usually, than the other sectors combined, but that's okay. And I've got nothing else to spend it on, so I'm going to buy Guiding Lights just to tell me exactly where the Necromancer is. The Necromancer being the first boss. Obviously, people pile up in the corridor, you can block most of it. Obviously, they're called the teleporters for a reason, they can teleport. But it's alright, that barely does anything for them. It's the Deceiver that you've got to worry about. Hopefully we don't find one of those at any point in this run. That would be kind of sad. There are some Shard Lords that I just haven't got any helpful advice for, because there is no helpful strategy other than to try and fight it cautiously, or like an absolute behemoth and just go in and start hitting it. Not a lot of good help you can get for some things, but there's only a couple of things in the game, so don't worry too much. Okay, we are very nearly there, so I'll talk about the Necromancer. He's an elder god that comes up in the arenas quite a lot if you've played those first. But there is a very good strategy for fighting him. You just have to get a few hits in and then block, if you don't want to do the cheese strat, which I'll also try and show off as much as possible. So the fight is not too bad. You have to first go up and eliminate all of these minions that are on the edges. I often throw a weapon through here. Whoops, okay, I totally fucked that up, I'm so sorry. I'll take a bit of damage. It's not the end of the world. You can jump around on the edges. Whoops. Magic, you should just be fine, as long as you make sure you know where it is, and then just move away from it. Arena traps. You just never forget about the prospect of him using magic. And there are 4 guys on the ground as well. Now, you are incentivized as well to kill the Necromancer quickly, because he summons enemies in to help him. But you can always just kill them as well. There's no problem really about that. So, I'm going to kill some of these guys, because they're annoying. Again, he's using magic. As long as you know where it is, you should be able to run away from it fine, so don't worry too much. Any class is quite capable of outrunning that. Keep your distance as much as you possibly can. If he's about to hit you, block. You probably do need a shield for this fight. It's pretty much guaranteed that you will at some point be in need of a shield. Again, be wary of the magic. Now, there is a useful tool we need, which you can use in this. And it is on top of the... You want to, if you're not the Spectre and don't have the dash ability, go on top of this trap, and then up here there's a black katana, which is one of the best weapons in the game. It's actually great. They give you this in the fight. Really useful. I would recommend picking this up because it has a crazy durability. If you can enchant it, all the better, but you don't need to. And he's summoned a bunch of minions in. The coward has summoned a ton of minions in. Fight them like with the previous strategy I've talked about. No worries. He's going to use magic again. It's fine. Right, and as for the Necromancer himself, we're going to actually get into the fight now. Block. And then just do 4, 5 hits thereabouts. 4 or 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 thereabouts. And he should do a... Hello? Okay, the cheese strat is you hit him in the fingers. That is the simple strat for him. Because if you sever all of his fingers on his staff, dies instantly. I'm not even joking. But the point is, if you have no enemies anywhere else to deal with, you are absolutely fine. Just go in, block, get 4 or 5 hits in. You can do 6 if you want. Then block again. And any shield will be able to deflect the damage as long as it's, in one piece still. And then you'll pass the Necromancer. And that's great. And we've made some really big progress in this run. Because we've beaten an Elder God. We've got a couple of upgrades. And you get loads of energy for beating the Necromancer. And you can spend it with the final minion over here. And we free the Apostate as well, sorry. So, this is the end of this run. There's nothing else we can do here. We have to now spend our energy on something useful. If you didn't know, you can press spacebar and left click at the same time to make this process a bit less painful. So now we're on the Black Katana upgrade. Really good. That's fantastic. That's the only weapon I'm going to bother with in this playthrough. You are very welcome to get machetes. Might be useful. Cutlass is probably very useful. The shovel axe is very good. The shotgun is very useful as well, and that goes up to the double barrel shotgun after that. The harpoon gun is not bad either. And this isn't great, steel shields, particularly if you have an enchanter with you, but it's worth doing, I think. Just about. Don't bother with crossbows or ranged tasers in my view. That's just not worth it. Electric baton, maybe. Dagger's very short range. I wouldn't really bother. Flaming spear is actually surprisingly good. I wouldn't bother with the club or the battle axe because they're blunts, which just don't really help you that much more than the pickaxes and the shovels. And the gladius is good. It's just like a cutlass, similar sort of range. I wouldn't bother with fist spikes, even though they are very cheap, so you could, if you really wanted to, if you really like that weapon, I don't know. Do whatever you want, it's just my view on everything. I would probably recommend going for health. If you're doing spectres, I would recommend health and weapon durability generally, as I keep saying. That's what I'm going to go with. And that's the end of the run at this point. We can't do any more. We can't hold on to our gold or our weapons. So you go into this Iron Maiden, or you just pause and abandon the run. That's also perfectly legit. So you go into the Iron Maiden and die. And yeah, it was a good run. We got some enemies. We got the Necromancer. But as far as you could for now. So this is a good indicator that you're making progress, I hope. And I'm going to return to the facility to get on with the next segment of the game. The point is now we've got one Elder God defeated. Now we get a promotion for this, or we're maybe playing as a new character. It's a little bit unclear. We're now a captain. which means you get access to a few different places. And this is important now. We remember we trapped that pursuer in ruins. So that's great. And what happens is the pursuer gets sent to the facility here. And I realise it is not easy to work out how to do that by yourself. I had to look it up myself. It was tough. Everything, we get access to a few places. Only a single soldier, or perhaps a few at a time, multiplayer, will be able to remain undetected, and even then only for several minutes, because the pursuers eventually find you and catch up to you. But you can take it pretty slowly. Again, the pursuers aren't fast. You can outrun them as long as you keep moving, but generally it is better to just get out of every sector as quickly as possible, if you possibly can. That's why having sort of a group of people for multiplayer on PC is good. I mean, it's pretty useful as long as it doesn't break or something, which I'm afraid to say it does do quite often. It's not too bad. So now, as you can see, they're updating their mad, crazy statistics or something because they've crossed off the Necromancer. And now we have these two more intermediary elder gods. I'm going to do the setup for the second one now. You can see this guy around the facility. If you've played this game before, you'll probably have familiarised yourself with him. He pushes you everywhere. There's even a bathroom somewhere where someone's written graffiti about him. I can't fully remember. Access level 2 for that. We can get in here though. We can get into the bunk beds and everything, which is great. There's some propaganda and everything, which is fantastic. So I'm just giving a quick show off of what we've unlocked and what we've gained from all of that progress. Here's the bathroom. See chef's pantry because the food sucks. This is the end, kind of a nice allusion to the final one. File officer complains. There's always just lots of fun stuff to look around here. If that twitchy freak shoves me one more time, who's left to remember you? There's always some very bleak shit here. Just bleed. Nice, thank you for that. Game developer, very cool. We need to, unfortunately, for the progression's sake, kill this guy. And in the facility you can't punch or do anything. It's a bit of a shame. The reason we capture the pursuer is for that purpose. So, we've got the pursuer. We can take the pursuer's heart from here. It's not really clear what the pursuer's doing with this. We have the heart of the pursuer. Can't really do anything with this. Don't go back into the main area with this heart unless you want a funny death message. It is a funny death message. I kind of do recommend it. But for right now, the twitchy guy, whereabouts is he? I've completely lost him. He's somewhere. We need to get him to punch us while we're holding the heart. That's the objective here. That's what we need to do. Okay, now he's covered in blood, or foreign matter, if you like. And this is all essential to the progression. I'm not joking. This is what happens. As it turns out, this guy is kind of the big baddie of the game. It's not the end, but he's sort of the person who's behind the scenarios. He's called the Trickster, and he's the second Elder God that we're going to fight in this run, I should say. The order I'm doing this in is a little bit unusual, in the sense that normally people would probably fight the Abberation second, which is where you have the stone tablet, which appears after you've killed the Necromancer. That becomes available to you, and you can use that to go to islands and kill the Abberation, and that's not a very difficult Elder God in comparison. Probably the easiest one actually to actually fight. As you can see now, he's walked into the beyond the yellow line for the embarkation room, whatever it is. And the turret kills him up here. Defense system, wherever it is. And that's done. That's now progress. That's really good. And while we're here, I'll just check the apostate room. So if you have killed any Shard Lords, I just ran away from the one I saw there. You can spend their stuff here, and this is really useful as well. It gives you, it's all part of the grind. If you want to grind upgrades in this and make the game easier for yourself, this is a great way to go about it. Kill Shard Lords. There are loads of Shard Lords in islands where we'll go a bit later. I keep talking about it. It's a cool place. And there are lots of things that are really useful here. Probably the best thing you can do if you really want to save up for it is to upgrade your class to the next level, because this massively increases the stats of your class, particularly in the areas it's weakened. So the Wraith has a decent amount of health now. If you upgrade it with, it's 15. It's not cheap. The compass upgrade is worth it. I would say the free item is worth it even, because this allows you to get stuff at the cave's entrance, which is one of the perks at the start, which just means you're more powerful from the get-go, and it is useful. I probably won't actually end up getting any upgrades in this run with that, but it's certainly something that's there, particularly if you want to, as I say, if you want to grind and make it easier for yourself, that's there. Final thing I'll talk about for now is once you've killed any Elder God, it's usually the Necromancer first for everyone, you get this class called the Corrupted. And they have some interesting abilities, but they are kind of useless. They have about as much health as the... actually, they have less health than the Spectre. I forgot about this, sorry. And they're not particularly fast, but they have some fun acid rain abilities, and you can bring people back from the dead, I think. but it's not really great. I wouldn't recommend this class particularly, but it is fun. As I said before, I would recommend having, whoops, sorry, I'm being an absolute fool, a Vanguard, a Spectre, and a Brawler, probably, in your, if you have a multiplayer game for this. And then beyond that, do whatever you want, I suppose. Particularly because the Vanguard can't upgrade its own stuff, but that's besides the point. Right, we're going down again as the Spectre. And this is the second Elder God I'm going to fight, is the Trickster in this run, even though that's a slightly atypical order. The way we do this is, usually what would happen, you'd notice this little red sack has started growing. When it says a Great Power reigns here, that means there's a Shard Lord somewhere in Case 1, which is okay. And in fact, the upgraded compass tells you where that is. The challenge is just a challenge room. It's a typical one, which I saw one with the Apostate, for example. This is the Apostate challenge room. And it says, a bloody mass has begun to form. And that's kind of part of the thing, partly to do with the guy we killed with the defense system. You can see that it's coming from this bloody strand here. Can you please go away? I'm not interested in talking to you. This will grow over the course of the next 3 runs you do. So for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to do 3 more full runs because there's not much point. I think I'll be alright without the grind. I thought I killed you. You're dead now. I'm just going to restart the run 3 times. And show you what happens when you've done 3 runs, for example. If you're on the grind and everything, you want to unlock the bridge portals, then go and do 3 more runs. So the other thing is, if you make it to the bridge place between Crystal Caverns and Ruins, or between Caves and Crystal Caverns, several times, you will unlock a portal directly to them, which appear on the sides here at the start, which is really useful if you manage to get that far. You don't have to bother with caves ever again, because I suppose developers realise it's kind of silly to keep dealing with it over and over again. And the other thing is this, which is the tablet which you can take to islands, and I'll talk about that later when I'm actually there. But this is what appears after the Necromancer is killed, regardless of anything you do with the Pursuer. This is all because of the Pursuer, what I'm doing right now. And you can see it is bigger, but we need to reset a couple more times to get it to the correct size. By the way, if you're doing exactly what I'm doing in this video, then you only need to reset. You need to reset after the message has come up saying the bloody mass has grown. Otherwise, for some reason, it doesn't grow. Which is a bit weird, but that's what happens. So we'll just wait for it again. This is a relatively uncut video, I think it will be. I may skip through a couple of sections when there's not much to talk about, for example, as I suspect there probably will be here. So you now, okay, not yet. I'll get to this point where we're at. So it's grown. Oh no, sorry, it's hatching this time. So now the bloody mass. Something has been born from the bloody mass, it should say in a moment. There's another Shard Lord here if you want. That's the indicator, by the way, again, as I say. That means the Shard Lord's here. Then you can see the bloody footprints, that's indicating that it's hatched. And then there is the Trickster, boss fight. It's kind of available from this point. To get to the Trickster boss fight, we have to get back to Ruins 1, which is it's kind of a disappointing thing for lots of people to hear. Because it's like you've just got to do it all again. But it shouldn't be too bad. It should take a few minutes, probably half an hour, I would imagine. I am going to do a quick time lapse in the video where I just get back to that point. Of course, this time around I have the upgrades for the swords, so I should probably get better weapons at some point in this. I could do with a bit of gold myself at some point in this as well. But yeah, I'm just going to do a quick time lapse until I get back to Ruins 1, and then we can talk about what's going on. I'm not going to fight this guy. I would also go as far as say just completely ignore this enemy if you ever see it, because it's absolutely terrible. So there we are. Time to get to Caves 2, I think. Let's go to the montage. Alright, we are coming to the end of Crystal Caverns 2, which is a good time to probably talk about how the Trickster will work, because in the next section we'll be able to fight him in Ruins 1. And the Trickster, on the same run as he's got out of the blood sack, whatever it is then perfectly possible to fight, so there's no trouble at all with that respect. But the Trickster has a 50% chance of spawning in Ruins 1, and a 50% chance of spawning in Ruins 2. And you don't fight them immediately, don't worry. In fact, you can't take your weapons that you get in the normal areas in with you to the fight. So whatever you don't, you can completely expend your weapons trying to do it. Don't worry about that one bit, it's absolutely fine. And what we're going to do, I had a little bit of a bad time with my health, but I'm back to full now, which is great. I'll bank my energy again, I'll put it mostly to health, probably. Just for my sake with the Spectre. Why not go to health 3 as well. Alright. So, Ruins 1. Now, the Trickster might be in here. The way you can tell, there are several indicators. The first one is, there are bloody footprints on the stairs that come in. This is great. And then the second one is the vines that appear on parts of the ceiling in different places and parts of the floor in different places. I am really bad today. So, if this is not in Ruins 1, you have two options. You can either go to Ruins 2, or you can exit, save and quit, not abandon run, save and quit, go back to your save, and then click resume run. And then you get put back to the start of Ruins 1, which is the place you're at the moment, and then it will regenerate the whole environment. And you keep all the stuff that you had at the start, and obviously you can see this is a new place. And the Trickster's here as well, so this is fine. We don't have to reset again, but if he's not there on Ruins 1 and you don't want to go all the way to Ruins 2, just reset run quickly, and he'll be there. Which is a good way to save a bit of time, if you like, or you can just fight him more quickly every time. Now, once we're here, we're looking for something very particular and weird that wasn't here before. It's not the fight itself, it's something that leads to the fight. The idea, what we're looking for is a room with a frozen giant mage in the middle of it. This challenge is probably not relevant to that, but we're going to do it anyway, because I'm here now. I don't think there are going to be any exits to this challenge that lead on to anywhere else. The exit is never through challenges. If it is through a challenge, I believe it's a bug. It has happened to me one time in the speedrun, which is very frustrating. There should be another way to get to the exit or the next area without going through a challenge room, as far as I'm aware. That is exactly what happens with it. Sorry, it is a bit loud when you get that, but we have a metal shield. It might help me briefly, wherever we are going. So, there is no way to know where this frozen giant mage is. You just have to find it somehow. It's somewhere in Ruins 1, as long as it has the red vine indicator everywhere. It's definitely here. When you're backtracking, blocking all the time you go around the corners is very good, because the enemies will be aggroed on you already. It kind of sucks, but there we go. That's the way the Ruins 1 always work. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and summon the Pursuer first. And the Pursuer will show up after a while, regardless of what you do. But we need the Pursuer again to do this, unfortunately. So, the Pursuer, you need to get the Pursuer to fly through the Frozen Giant Mage statue. And then that little area, you'll get a staff. Then you can use the staff to create a portal to where the Trickster is. That's the idea behind it. It is hard to work all this out once again. I definitely didn't. I had to look that part up as well. But it happens. It's a little bit complex, not too bad. The thing is, the bit we're on right now is really not the difficult part. The bit that's difficult is the build-up to the Trickster fight. You can go through 4 scenario-type levels called the Construct. And you have to do it all on one tank of fuel, like if you like. You've got 1 health bar to do the whole set of 4 scenarios and then the boss fight. Luckily, there are ways to cheese the boss fight a little bit, so it's okay. Unless you want to fight it seriously, that's fine. Now this is the exit room, and it's a room like this you're looking for. Exactly like this, but in the middle there's a frozen giant mage. Obviously I will find it at some point, but sometimes you just can't find it for ages. Sometimes it's past the exit, sometimes it's before, sometimes it's really easy, sometimes it's just not. It's pretty random. I think this is the same room that the exit's in, isn't it? We've just come through in a different way, have we? Yes. But the key is we don't want to go to the exit, unless the Trickster's not here. Then go to Ruins 2. But if the Trickster is in this place, somewhere there will be a giant mage. Even if it really feels like there won't be, there will be somewhere. I will probably time-lapse until I find it, because looking around isn't really going to help advice-wise. So I'll see you soon. Alright, we have managed to find it. It was a little bit... I missed it. It was further back. This is what it should look like. In the middle there's a big totem full of frozen bodies or something. And there are a few enemies. And there's also a giant mage. So we can now wait around for the pursuer. That's one option. Or we can go to the shop and summon the pursuer and then get back here, which is pretty straightforward if you want to try and have a bit more of a relaxed time finding this first. Or if you just want to wait here for the pursuer, that'll work. That'll work too. It's all good. Obviously, the pursuer is always a bit of a threat, but you need him here to do this. I am going to go to the shop now, and hopefully I can find my way back. This is how I got here. So, yeah, hopefully there's a turning somewhere. I think the shop actually is very nearby, which is good news for this. And, yeah, sometimes you can... Okay, this is really far. What's going on with this? It wasn't like this a minute ago. Have I gone wrong? I hope not. Oh dear, the shop is miles away. I thought it was much closer than this. It's actually ages away. Okay. Interesting. I think it's around this corner. Yeah, here we go. Summon the pursuer, and back we go. And hopefully I remember everything. That's the only consolation. We definitely went back through here. We definitely went back through this room. Obviously you can kind of do it on aggroed enemies. Where are they coming from? So you can sometimes work it out that way. And then I believe it's up here. Is the location we need to get to. Oh dear, that was nearly death. Actually, it wouldn't have been with my health upgrades, but this is an intolerable enemy. What is he doing? Just blocking the way and T-posing and doing nothing. Right, the pursuer's on us. So now it's a matter of time, only a matter of time, before the pursuer arrives. And then as soon as the pursuer goes through this, we can pick up the giant mage's staff and take the giant mage's staff to a portal. The portal is very easy to find because the staff rather glows red. When you're pointing in the direction of the portal. So all you have to do is approximately follow it like a compass point, and you'll be fine. And I think the portal is actually the same one the pursuer comes from. I might be wrong about that. I think it's actually a static spawn all the time. I don't know. It comes from Construct. That's where we're going. And my health is decent. It should be alright, hopefully. The pursuer sometimes can take his time to get here. It's a bit difficult. Theirs, I'm not sure. I always say I quite like the pursuer enemy in this game, but it does ruin a lot of speedruns. It's very true. In terms of the strategy for Construct, I'm going to try and play the levels in a pretty linear way, like a very particular way, and then I'm going to pick up a weapon towards the end of one of the levels and then use that. There is a black katana available to us in Construct, and we're going to try and get that and enchant it. And I'm going to do it last because I'm aware that most people might not want to use a Spectre when they're playing the game early on, so you might have a normal black katana, in which case getting it last is probably preferable, and playing the other scenarios first is perfectly fine. But we'll see what happens. I might die and have to redo the whole tutorial. That would be a bit shit. Here comes a pursuer, flying through the statue, and wait for the pursuer to be a little bit clear, and then we're just going to go and grab the staff. When you're near the pursuer, by the way, you also get guiding light. If you really have no idea where you're going, that can be a cheap way to work out how to get to the exit. In the sense the pursuer costs nothing to spawn. But you can see this is glowing red when I'm pointing in the right direction, so it's somewhere in this area. Oh god, hello. That was interesting with the interceptors. You've got to not do what I did there, backtrack a lot more quickly. Somewhere around here. I don't know if it's further back this way or if I've already totally missed it. Ah, it looks like it might be further in this direction, in the other direction. I'll see if I can get around. It looks like I might need to go back that way. Hold up. I'll see if I can get around this way. A lot of ruins is actually quite circular, cyclical. Is that the right word? I think I'm actually back in a helpful place here. There's the portal. Very nice. And the portal looks like this. Obviously, it's pretty obvious which it is because of the way that it's now glowing. And you have one shot at this unless you have a perk which modifies the number of bullets per weapon. Shoots into the portal. And off we go. And you can't take your weapons with you. We're now, well, you have it at the moment, but yeah. You get a little bit of a health upgrade, a health top-up and power top-up, which is great. And you can bank your energy again, but you can also do that when you come back, so there's not much point, don't worry. Do it when you come back. Do it beforehand as well, in case you die. That's also important. I'm going to do Inheritance to make the next part of this run a bit quicker for me to do. Although, I suspect Inheritance won't be that good unless you're planning on dying a lot of times. So don't worry too much. We get into this VR machine, and then we, for complicated lore reasons, the Trickster is sort of in VR at the moment. We enter the VR realm with which to kill him, and he dies in the real world. And this realm is the construct, where things are constructed. I'm not sure exactly why it's called that, but it's fine. Not too important to worry about. We're going to play these levels through, and I'm going to do Biker Bar first, which is this one. It's got a little couple of things around the sides of it, like you'd expect to find in Biker Bar, like kegs. And was there a pool table on the side? This is straightforward enough. There are weapons you can pick up from the chefs. There is a machete in the dartboard upstairs, but this plays like a normal scenario. I'm going to enchant this and just kill all the enemies. All these people are normal brawlers, essentially. There's nothing really special about them. It's kind of just a weird morphed version of Biker Bar. Spectre is hilariously weak at getting cutting damage, so you've got to do one-off hits and everything, but we can get 2 nice machetes from this, it's alright. And then of course you have the knives, you've got the pool cues, lots of weapons that will be really useful. Sorry, my cat is pestering me and I don't really know why. I hope she doesn't. I hope she's alright. She does it most days, I'm not sure what for. Right. You can bring the machetes that you get there with you, but not the one you're holding, interestingly. So put the good one in your pocket if you can possibly help it. I think we need to go to Pyro Cove next. It's probably the best one to do. Yeah, I think Pyro Cove is the best one next. You get a couple of swords here, which is useful. And I would advise going for maybe Blackbeard first if you already have a machete on you. Otherwise, there are swords about the place, or one of the captains. Like that. There is a Blackbeard in this level, so you've got to be a little bit careful of him, because he's annoying at the best of times. I made a separate video on how to fight the Trickster himself, which is easier than you would think, this boss. It's probably the easiest one in terms of the actual methodology of the fight. If that makes sense. It's sort of, it's not too bad. It's really not too bad. I wouldn't worry about the fight itself. You need to pick up the Katana item that I get a bit later on in Disco. Where else would you get the Katana item? And there are a bunch of pirates fighting in these little alcoves around the edges of the map and in the middle, so you need to clear all of these out. It takes a minute. Don't worry about the time then, that's fine. That's just me being worried about the time all the time. There's a couple of people over here. Sometimes one person is chasing you and then they are perpetually in the wrong part of the map. So that's a bit difficult, like you can see here. In fact, he might be the last person alive. If you're worried about that, then just stand still for a minute. Ah, there are more people fighting this tunnel, that's good. And that's the end of the level. We can go to the blue arrow as normal to leave, and I'm going to hold the bad one, just in case. I think sometimes it doesn't actually disappear, but normally does. Oh, it didn't that time. Nice. I don't know if that's a bug or if it's actually an intended feature, but just to be safe. Here we go. We're going to go to Prison next, which is down here on the lower levels. There's not a Saloon construct level, because Beneath was made before Saloon was added, and they've not retroactively changed that. I don't really know why. I think it's just... this is pretty good as it is. In fact, the whiteboard we saw earlier that alludes to the scenario attacks actually doesn't mention Saloon, I don't think. Which indicates the Saloon scenario that was added. There's got a little question mark or more, it says. What? More scenarios? The number one suggestion for this game, more scenarios, please. There are, on PC at least, lots of community levels that are very good, though, so give them a try if you're here. Oh, hello. My sword is broken. We'll get a barbell to finish people off with. Dear me, I've taken more damage. Right, Disco last. And Disco has a nice trick to it, but you do need to be expected to use the dash ability for this, or alternatively you can use sharp weapons to make a little bridge for yourself up. We're going to try and kill the boss on this level in one shot. There's a secret hidden cannon you can use to do this. It's pretty cool and exciting. This level is also the easiest to die on, and you can just fall off these bridges if you're not careful. So be careful of that. We're going to go up to the top level. And I'm actually going to grab... shall I grab the sharp weapons to demonstrate that point immediately? I might do. That's probably best, isn't it? Damn, where are they? They're somewhere around here. I can't ever quite remember because I never do this. But the reason I never do it is just for other reasons. You know, it's not because I don't like the strat, it's just because I don't need to usually do it. Is it only accessible from the top area? Where is it accessible from again? I can never ever remember what I'm doing on this, but it's not very professional, I must apologise. But there are sharp weapons you can get somewhere that allow you to... you can throw them into a wall and then stand on top of them, is basically the idea that I'm going for here. But I can't, for the life of me, remember where they are, which is a bit crap. They might be on this level. No. It is a bit of a mad fever dream. If I had the music on loudly, you'll be able to hear that it's a warped version of the scenario music on. I know that you can get in through here, so I'm going to go through here. And he's aggro, damn it, I've completely messed up the trick I was trying to do. Right, I'm going to have to kill him normally, sadly. If you go below here, there are 2 weapons. The thing which you're meant to do, I'll still demonstrate what this is, because I've just messed it up by going into his trigger zone. You're meant to go on top of this building. You can use 2 of the Spectre's dashes to do it very easily, or you can find a sharp weapon, stick it in the wall, and climb up. Should we see if we can still get it with this? No, okay, we've missed. The cannonball goes and fires through him when he's sitting on that chair and kills him with 1 shot, which is really, really useful. But if you've already failed that, like I have, you can just use the pimp cane and the nunchucks, and that should probably be enough to kill him anyway. With most classes anyway. Brawler, you should have no problems. Spectre is a little bit more finicky. There we go. And I'm going to enchant this and use it to kill out the rest of the level. But there are other weapons, so don't worry. If you get the cannon strat, you'll be absolutely fine. There's a comb here. There is a room full of tire iron somewhere, I believe, actually. I think that... my knowledge of these places is very poor. It's really just like the scenario. There are weapons about the place. I wouldn't worry too much about this, just see if you can get through it in any kind of manner. Low health will be alright. It will be acceptable for the thing I'm going to try and do on the final fight, so don't worry too much about that. And as I say, you could do disco earlier on if you want to enchant the katana, and then you can carry it through quite a lot of the scenarios because the durability is just that insane. Or, if you're not planning to enchant it, you can just do it later on, and then you have the katana ready for you in the final fight, which you will need, to some extent, definitely. Right, that's Disco Construct done. So, the point is now we have to go into the boss fight. That's the next thing on the list. And what I'm going to do in the boss fight is just go in and get loads of damage on him in the introductory cutscene area. If you don't want to do that, you can fight him normally like a normal enemy. But the thing which I like about this strategy is it is really, really simple, and it's kind of foolproof as well. What we're going to do is go into the final fight in the blue area, straight away, as soon as we can, sprint at him, and then block. I'm going to do loads of downward hits like this, or you can just hit him normally on the side like this, until he has this blue particle effect. And that means we've taken out all of his health, and now you have to avoid him shooting you with a cannon. Jump along these rocks in the water and activate all of these green crystals in no particular order, and you've beaten the fight. It's not too bad. It's really that is the strategy I'm going for first. Now, the other ways you can beat him are he has several different phases of attack. He has a boxing glove phase, a phase where he has a shotgun and a riot shield, in which case you can only really hit him manually, or sorry, melee. There's a harpoon gun on that side as well. There are a couple of weapons around the side of the arena area to really help you with that fight. But the way that I do it that way is not only fast, it's also really reliable. If you get that many hits with him on a normal black katana, he'll be on super low health, and you only have to hit him a couple more times in one of his ranged phases, which is really good. It's not really in the intended way, but I think it works perfectly well. Now, what you can do, I'm saying now a lot, I apologise, that sounds very authoritative and stupid. What we're going to do, you can now at this point go back through here. You don't have to die after this boss fight, you can go back and then you get put in Caves 2. If for some reason you want to be in Caves 2 and continue the grind. What I'm instead going to do is abandon the run, and I'm going to go back to the facility, because I want to fight the third Elder God. And then we can move on to the final Elder God and beat the game, essentially. If you do what I'm doing in this run, you will get almost all of the achievements. You won't get the achievement for upgrading a class, which you need to do here, and you get one of these orbs units for killing Shard Lord, which again I've not done yet, because it will take ages. But I will have to do it in Ireland, so I can show you what happens then. So, in the final stretch of the run, the tutorial, I always say the run because I'm doing run tutorials. I guess it is a run of sorts. I'm going to be Spectre again. What we're going to do is get this little piece of tablet here, and we need to go to Crystal Caverns 1, so it's not that long this time. And, as I said before, this isn't typically the order people do this in. Normally you get the Necromancer and then the Abberation, and then grind a little bit, and then do the Trickster. That's a perfectly valid way of doing it. I am doing it this way because it is faster to explain and show you all of what's going on. And you can't jump straight from the Trickster into the final boss for weird reasons, whereas you can jump from the Abberation into the final boss, which is really quite useful, in fact. We're going to grab this piece of tablet. The disadvantage of holding this is that we cannot use a shield for the entire period between now and Crystal Caverns 1. That is the thing, but you can still have 2 swords, which is pretty good. I'm going to use this katana to get up to 2 power bars, then enchant the black katana probably. As I say, these katanas are the best weapon by far that you can get. They are way, way too cheap based on the actual damage output that you can get. And that's not just for Spectre, for every class they are really, really useful. It's a bit of a cheese though, to be honest, as I keep saying this run. There are lots of cheese methods you can use to play the game properly. As I say, this is just a tutorial really, not so much of how to do everything, but it's what to do if you're stuck. If you want to play the game and just do things and get things done, get the achievements and be done with it, and to be honest, have fun while you're playing, and get a bit overpowered and everything, then this is probably the tutorial for you. I could do another tutorial where I do more of 100%y. Here are loads of strategies type thing. This is more fundamental. It's like, this is, these are the objectives. This is what you can do to achieve them, etc, etc. So, because I have inheritance, I've got a lot of the gold from my previous run, so I don't have to do as much killing. So it's not too bad. You can also enchant the tablet, it doesn't do anything. I don't think there's any particular blocking that it offers. It does offer a very small blocking defense thing, I believe. Now, what we do, we take this to Crystal Caverns 1. That's the basic thing. And then in Crystal Caverns 1 we have to find an altar. Okay, that was really weird predictive firing from the Crystal Crab there, I don't know why I did that. But we're going to take this to Crystal Caverns 1 and find an altar. Crikey, that was close. And put the tablet on the altar, and that will take us to the islands dimension that I kept mentioning earlier. And this is a really short place. Actually, it's not very difficult either. It's very open. Sorry. Oh dear. Man, bless me. We're going to keep going towards Crystal Caverns 1. I might as well just play this part of it. I'll probably do a time lapse until I'm actually there, though. I'll just run through it quickly because I have quite a lot of money. And bear in mind, along the way, you probably want to get yourself a couple of really good swords, because what you get in this run does lead directly into the final boss if you want to play it that way. I'll see you in a second and I'll explain more about what I'm doing then. Right, we're now approaching Crystal Caverns 1, we're on the bridge again, and I'll quickly walk through that thing I said earlier. Basically, we've got to this point in the run 3 times now. So it says a shortcut is being constructed. As soon as you reach here 5 times, you get a portal directly from Caves 1 to this bridge, so you can ignore caves for the duration of your playthrough at that point. And if you get to Ruins, the Ruins Bridge after Crystal Caverns 2 8 times, then you get a portal to that as well, so then you can ignore Crystal Caverns and caves for the duration of your entire playthrough. Here's what I'm going to be thinking about my final upgrades, I suppose. I'll just get a little bit more speed. Probably best. Now, in the final... There's part of the reason I haven't been killing the Shard Lords I've seen is because you have to fight all of them when you fight the final boss, one after the other. At least broadly speaking you do. There is a way that you can avoid some of them, but it's very tricky. Even for me, I struggle with it a lot, and there's a chance I'll just throw it, run away. I have to explain everything again. So what I'll do instead is I will walk through how to beat the Shard Lords in the final fight, and that saves everyone a little bit of time. And hopefully you guys will learn a little bit about them too. Most of the enemies in this game behave kind of like you'd expect. You've just got to approach them with caution, but then obviously I've given specific advice on a lot of them whenever I've seen them throughout this run. Now, much like the Giant Mage, somewhere, the Frozen Giant Mage, we have somewhere in Crystal Caverns 1, and it definitely is Crystal Caverns 1 this time. There's no reason, it's never in Crystal Caverns 2, for example. There is an altar. And we don't know where the altar is, but as soon as we find it, we just have to walk up to it, and we have to still be holding the tablet, and it'll place it on there for us. And we can go to Islands, which is the, not Ireland's, but the other one. We can get to Islands as soon as we find this bloody altar. Unfortunately, we don't know where it is, as I said. We have no idea. Blue crystal crabs, again, are intimidating. I do tend to just leave them alone, to be honest, unless I catch them completely unaware and they're already in the ground. That's incidentally the best time to kill crystal crabs, is when they're already in the ground. Okay, it was right next to the introduction to the first area, which is good. You can't actually be hurt once you're in this cutscene here, so don't worry too much. You'll be alright. You can clear out the enemies if you really want, that's fine. All you have to do is just take the tablet to this point. If you have the portal, and you've been doing a bit of grinding up to this point, that does make it a lot easier, obviously, because you can just take this, go through the portal, and then you're just in Crystal Caverns, and that's all you have to do. So it really is the easiest Elder God from start to finish, the Abberation, I would say, if you have already beaten a Necromancer. It's very straightforward. And it's a great way to grind the Shards of a Fallen God that the Shard Lords drop. So, what we're going to do, pick up this perk, whatever it is, and this is the portal through to islands. And there are 2 islands. The second island culminates with the Abberation, but it's a beautiful place with, I think it's only got 2 new enemies that are to this run. One of them is the Observer, which is an absolute bastard. To be brutally honest, they do way too much damage. You can't really avoid not being hit by this. You can't really avoid being hit by them. I would avoid them completely if you possibly can, and get a shield pronto. And there are these things, the charges. If when they're charging, they contact your person at all, you will be knocked very far into the distance. So they are hugely dangerous. Oh my god, okay, sorry, I nearly got caught out by that. I actually was caught out, I was lucky to survive. That's one of the Shard Lords we've got to fight on this level to get to the next level. So one of the things we have to fight is an Observer. As I say, if you can block, then that's great. Usually do 2 hits and then block, and then even then it's kind of impossible. I would probably do 1 and block, or 2 and block. Okay, this is the Crawler. This is essentially just a very big and powerful version of the smaller crawlers we've seen earlier. I can just teleport back up with Spectre, it's okay. You shouldn't really fall off with his slower classes, to be honest, though, so you'll be right. We're going to get back to this. What we need to do to fight the Crawler is quite simple. The Crawler has a laser beam effect that is so powerful it will kill pretty much everybody in 1 hit. So we don't want to deal with that. We don't want to fight it at any kind of range. We want to get super close to it. Oh, for God's sake, can I not do this again, please? Maybe you need to be the Spectre for this run. I'm just thinking about it more carefully. We don't want to deal with the Crawler at range at all. We want to deal with it close up. And then that means we only have to deal with one of its... Well, in theory, you only have to deal with one of its laser abilities. So, here is the Crawler. Oh, there's so many enemies. I'm trying to clear the ground a little bit to get a clear fight and explain what's going on, but that's just not happening. Here again, bastard. Right, we're going to go for this. What we need to do is approach it quickly, then it'll power up, and then you have to jump up right before it fires and hope that it misses. It has such a broad range that changing direction does very little in my experience. But as soon as we're at close range, it can't use that ability anymore. And, whoops, that was a total failure of planning. We need to bait out its attack, then jump away. And then go back straight away and keep hitting it. It has this thing called a weak spot. It's a totally informal term. You can technically kill it a little bit more quickly by hitting it in sort of in between the leg joint and it's sort of underneath it, but it's not effective. I really wouldn't bother with it that way at all. I would just bait out the hit, run back, and then start hitting it in the leg again straight away. Then you have to go towards the blue arrow. I'm on such low health, if I survive this it will be a miracle, but we'll keep going and hope that I do. If we just go straight towards this, there are 2 red lines that point out of it normally, and we've killed the enemies that could correspond to those lines. There was 1 Observer and 1 Crawler, which is a pretty horrible combination. One of them will be an Observer, the other will be a Shard Lord. But I've walked through the strategy to how to deal with the Crawler as much as possible. I need health very badly, but Islands is the only place in this area where there are no shops. So you cannot get more health unless you have a Pursuer available. I don't know if Pursuers come to Islands now, I come to think of it. I don't think they do. Now, you don't need to... Oh, Jesus. I am falling off a hugely embarrassing amount, so I apologise. We're going to go towards the blue arrow, of course, as you'd expect. Totally ignore the Shard Lords, because I have no health to fight them with. And pick up this Katana, oops, if possible. Try and avoid the charges as much as possible. And fight the Abberation. The Abberation is fine. You will be absolutely fine in this fight. All you have to do is cut down all these tentacles. And by this point, it is pretty much essential that you have a long or bladed weapon of some kind. Usually it will give you a couple in this fight, if you have them available. There are spawns on islands for these katanas that are super obvious. All you need to do is go around hitting these tentacles and then backing off before they can do anything to you. It's a tentacle monster, essentially. It's not a very complex fight. Mechanically speaking, you just have to keep running away and getting hits in really easily, like this, and then whichever tentacles are still waggling are the ones which are still up. Some of the ones, the purple ones, can shoot laser beams out of them, the orange ones just hit you. So that's okay. I'm hoping that there are 2 units of health available for purchase in the final zone, where there is a shop, otherwise I will be screwed. Probably. I don't imagine I can do that final fight without losing any health. That's probably a bit of a hard call. For some reason I thought I could fully block the crawler's attack. I obviously can't, so I don't know what I'm doing. That's 1 unit of health. I'm hoping there are 2 for sale in the shop, but the point is, after you've beaten the Abberation, which again is quite a straightforward fight, it's not even really a cheese method what I did there, that's just the normal process, unlike the Necromancer and the Trickster, which I've kind of like backed into a corner. The way that you tackle the final boss is very different, because you have to fight all the Shard Lords back to back. But the point is, I've done the Abberation third, partly for time, partly because you get led straight to this bridge area. You get led to here as well with a Necromancer, so all you have to do, if you fight them in a different order to me, you have to just kill the Abberation or the Necromancer again, and then you get to this bridge. If you fight the Trickster third, essentially, you won't get back to this point. So you need to fight the Abberation or the Necromancer again, as I keep saying. We can't get that upgrade anymore, so there's no point in spending this energy on this run. So here we go. We're in the final zone now called Fire and Blood, and there is Fire and Blood 1 and 2. This is number 1. And I need to go to the shop, which is over there. There is one more shop. This is your last chance to buy shit that you need. And Fire and Blood is a very unique area in the sense that when you get onto one of these islands, all the bridges disappear, and you have to fight some enemies. And that observer is really dangerous to me right now. I'm going to have to kill it with throwing my weapon constantly at it, unfortunately. I was hoping it wouldn't come to this. I'm really hoping that I can somehow survive. I don't know, I'm going to have to go in for a normal hit, I think. Okay, we're fine. I'm not terrible for health. And once you've killed all the enemies on one of these little islands like that, you just have to go across one of these bridges again. Whoops, that's a new one actually. And then once you're on the bridge, you're safe. It's okay, don't worry. And then you just, I'm going to head to the shop for this one. But once you get onto a new island, you have to then kill all the enemies on that respective island to get further. Okay. Now, there are actually some cool weapons that you can get here in Fire and Blood. They're not very useful by this point in the game, but they have little gold glowy effects on them. You saw me pick up one just then, called the Ancient Weapons. Oh, Lord above. Okay, so these weapons can actually kill the pursuers. If you're interested, you can pick one up and kill the pursuers here with it. Might as well. No point in not doing it, but you can kill the pursuers with them as long as you stab them in the rough chest, heart area. But they're only here. They're only in Fire and Blood, and you can't get them in anywhere else. There is one other weapon that can kill the pursuer, which I've not talked about much in this video, but I'll add a little segment in at the end to talk about the best weapon in Beneath, and a little Easter egg you can do as well, if you're interested. All of these guys are very similar. Oh, this is a Deceiver, isn't it? So, better time, you know, as good a time as any to fight the Deceiver. Why not? The Deceiver splits into loads of copies of itself, and then it eventually melds back to one. The Deceiver has stupid range. You have to hit it, and then immediately leave to have any kind of safety when you're fighting it. And there's an absolutely stupid amount of damage as well. I'm afraid to say there is no good upside to this whatsoever. Stupid range, stupid damage. You have to just hit it and then immediately get away again. If you can teleport as a Spectre, I would even recommend that. And if this pursuer is actually bothering me, so I might just kill it. There we go. It's not a lie, you really can do it. There are a lot of pursuers in Fire and Blood around the edges. They shouldn't really attack you much, but they do occasionally come out of the lava blood area and fight you. It's not the best. You can tell which is the real Deceiver by the fact that it has bruises or missing limbs, or it's got gold-coloured blood on it. That's fine. The Shard Lords do have the gold-coloured blood. However, it is a little bit hard to tell in Fire and Blood because there's so much red mist everywhere. If you look at your room after watching this video, you'll probably notice it looks bluer than you remember, just because of the contrast in your eyes. Having adjusted to the red a little bit. Okay, there are a lot of enemies on this one, but remember the tactics. If you've done a bit of grinding before this, you'll probably be well attuned to these enemies by now and have no issues. But they are a bit of a pain. If you get to this point and die, it's perfectly fine. It's a bit of a pain to get back here, is the only thing. So I'm sorry if that happens to you, but I'm doing my best to try and explain what is going on that will help you understand the process. Finally, you come to this island, there are no enemies on here, and you can go through to the final fight. Hopefully you still have some kind of good weapon, but there are a bunch of weapons on this platform. It's not like you're going to run out. Just going to walk down here. You can actually jump in the lava at the start, and then you get teleported to this to the platform, but I feel like people won't believe me or just think it's stupid. So I'm going to walk, and this is the final boss in the game, essentially, in Beneath. The fight of the boss himself is not very difficult. The real thing is you've got to fight 6 Shard Lords, not at once, but in pairs. So, the Elder God, of the End. He's just called the End. It's a very creative name, don't worry about it. The End normally cannot damage at all, even though there's a health bar for him at the top of the screen. I'll just demonstrate this. You can't actually damage him normally. So I'm going to go in for a hit. Something he has some kick abilities. Basically, stay the absolute hell away from him. If you want to have any consistency in this fight, stay away from him. You can't do any damage, except for in very brief windows. And you saw one just there. It goes white flash, and then you can see a little tiny man below the rock formation. And you can hurt him in those regions. But the easiest way to do this fight is not to try and hit him constantly in the hopes that you catch him out in one of those regions. Even though that is faster, it is much less consistent and much harder to do. What you really want to do is wait for ages in this fight. Not ages, it's about 5 or 6 minutes in this fight. And you have to just maybe clear up these skeletons as they come out of the lava, because it helps to remove clutter. Or you can just avoid all of them. It's up to you, really. I would recommend taking out the skeletons if you have a blunt weapon or something. I happen to have 2 of these swords left, which is good. But as I say, multiplayer is great for having someone who can enchant stuff and someone who can do most of the fighting. If you're in single player, Spectre or Brawler are good. Spectre's health is shocking. I would really recommend trying to upgrade the Spectre to Wraith and then switching to it. If you're a newer player, that will help a lot. Help me, certainly. And it takes some time. Killing these skeletons doesn't make it go any faster. This attack, I should say, is pretty obvious if you've played any video games from the early 2000s. He rains down from the sky, and there are little markers that indicate where the explosives are coming from. So incidentally, it is the Shard Lords, in my view at least, get harder as you go along. There are these 2 we've not even seen yet, called the Pyro and The Centurion. Now, the Centurion is like a normal man. He has a shield and a sword. All you have to do is try and get behind him and hit him, and then back off, like pretty much all the enemies in this game. Hit him a couple times, back off. You can try and break the shield, but it takes a lot of durability away to hit the shield at all, so if you can hit him in the back, that's way better. Stay away from the Pyro. This fire is impossible to move forwards. It's like a super version of the Minion. But you can't use fire all the time. Sorry, so in breaks between the fire, go in behind him, in front of him, wherever, and hit him. Has the lowest health of any Shard Lord, so it's really easy to deal with him. He has about as much health as a floating head on full chat, so it's not too bad. It's really quite straightforward in that respect, but the Shard Lords do get harder, I'm afraid. One of them is a super version of that statue we saw in Ruins, and then one of the next ones is a different version of the giant mage with a sword called the Beast, which you may have seen in one of my time lapses, which I went past and didn't bother with. But again, you just have to keep staying away from the End as much as possible. Always make sure you know where he is. If he's using this ability and you're far away from him, you'll be fine, because it's a sort of puts an explosive into the ground and it goes forward in a jetty pattern. Sort of a weird zigzaggy formation, but you'll be fine as long as you're trying to remain sort of on the other side of the platform to him all the time. During the Shard Lord's spawn period, you can't really do anything to the End. He's kind of like gaining strength or something on his little plinth up there. So we just have to go for the Shard Lords in that period. And as I say, you can technically damage the End in these white flash periods that you sometimes see, but it's not really worth it. I wouldn't bother with it unless you're, for some reason, trying to get the world record speedrun for this game, which for some reason I've devoted time to. Oh, sorry, this next one... Okay, it is mix and match this time. The Crawler, we've already fought. Quite simply, bait out one of his hits, one of his lasers. Hopefully he misses if you're running around, and then just go in, bait his melee attack, and he'll be fine. If you do that a few more times, it will be okay. I just sped up the game with the speed ability that he has, and that was okay. The Beast is very like the statues in the sense that you want to try and get behind him as much as possible. That's a weird bug. Get behind him. Stay behind him as much as you possibly can. Even if he's locked onto you, you should be alright. And as I say, with a Crawler, even though I got him very quickly there, what you really want to be doing with the Crawler is baiting out the one laser attack, move around like an absolute lunatic, jump up and down, crouch as much as possible. The really, really smart version of avoiding that is you wait until he's right about to shoot and then crouch, and he'll shoot over you. It doesn't always work in my experience, but it is probably the most consistent thing. I've been averagely lucky to avoid him 2 or 3 times. That's pretty normal. You are unlucky to die to him, but if you execute that kind of movement strategy correctly, you will only need to avoid one laser fire in this final fight from the Crawler. So it's not too bad. But the laser is, you know, 4-pronged, has a huge range. It's kind of bullshit. Does a stupid amount of damage. But as long as you keep basing out the melee attack, it will be absolutely fine and you'll be okay. And the beast is, again, as I say, like the statues. Try and get behind them as much as possible. If you think the beast is going to hit you and you're towards the front of them, immediately run away, because the knockback is insane. It is very similar to the charger's knockback. And I should also say, I don't think I encountered them in a dangerous degree when I was in Fire and Blood 1, but on the little islands that you see, where you have to go and, you go to all of the little islands, sorry, to get the new bridges to the final place. If you do see a charger there, I would kill them first, because the chargers can just ruin everything. They will knock you into the lava, which is an instant death, I'm sure you've worked out, but... Right, Deceiver. When he's about to do his teleporty animation, it's a very good time to hit him. Otherwise, forward, one hit, and then run away. This is also the Golem. You can just ignore them, primarily, because they move so slowly. You can go for the Deceiver first. If you get this combo, you might get a different combo, but treat them all separately. Go low priority, the Beast, the Centurion, and the Golem. Those are the low priority enemies, but broadly speaking. I've actually wrecked his leg here and his arm, but he's still fine, Deceiver. Again, I wouldn't bother. You can see this is the real one by the fact he's missing a leg and has blood all over his arm. The others don't attack you properly as long as you don't get near them. By this point, I've taken a long time instead of a lot of skeletons, but they group up nicely for us. Deceiver's got to be pretty low now, I think. There we go. Nice. Deceiver's done, so as long as all these guys disappear, that'll be it for the Deceiver. Then we just need to kill a few skeletons, and Golem is exactly like the statue, but exactly. Just get behind him, keep hitting him. Okay, interesting. And you'll be fine. And that's all 6 Shard Lords. So now we are just in a 1v1 with the End. Nothing else can come except for the skeletons. When the End is doing that, crouches down, has a radius. Get back. There's a big explosion coming. It's not good. That's one of the End's attacks in this final mode that he takes. Now, the thing with the End is, this sword is bullshit as well. It's a huge, huge, huge radius. So, get in a hit, and get away. And you can take as long as you want on this bit. Get in a hit and get away. You can even just pick up these and throw them, if you want. I'm bad at throwing. Excuse me. Doing that big explosion bollocks, so just calm down. It's going to be okay. Throw a weapon. This is a perfectly valid strategy, do not worry, there is absolutely nothing cowardice about this whatsoever. You will get the achievement and you will have the bragging rights. He's doing his useless explosive ability again. I'm just going to go in for him and hit him, and we are done. After enough hits, obviously he will go down. Getting the 6 Shard Lords first means he's kind of a free fight at the end of it. It's pretty straightforward at that point. But it is a bloody hard game, and I will never be able to give perfect advice in a tutorial like this. So that's the end of Beneath and the end of the End and the final boss. Those are the 4 bosses, all defeated, and you get nice credits to watch if you like. And beyond that, Beneath is... Essentially, you've finished the main objectives in Beneath. There are other things to do. You can go and find something called the Construct Pursuer. I'll play a clip of that after this broadly has finished, which is another bonus objective. It gives you a weapon that's really good. And if you happen to take that weapon all the way to the final fight with the End, then you can skip the first 4 Shard Lords. So it's great. If you bear that in mind when you're watching the final part of this video, that clip, that's great. That's something you can do. You really don't need to, but you can do. It's called the Laser Katana. It's fun. You probably have seen it in community levels, or the level editor, or the sandbox, even something like that. It's quite amazing. It's nice for him to thank Derek Harvey, who's one of the former moderators and administrators of this community and subreddit and stuff like that. Very cool guy. I'm not exactly sure who the other people are. I think John... I'm not sure who John Cartwright is, sorry, but super hot team for small partnership with the modifiers. Yeah, that is the main game, essentially, for this game. It is hard. I've run through it in a very brisk way and shown you how to do things rather than, you know, giving you loads of insanely free advice. But hopefully that will help you beat the bosses and make some progress. And you get sent to the title screen. You can just return to your save. And you get the top rank as Colonel, which means you can look around and see all the Easter eggs in the facility that you haven't previously been able to. So with the top rank, we can see all of these offices. We can see the server room and the VR training room. I can't remember what the point of this area is, actually. Yeah, simulating the past remnant of training the use of powers, look for signs of influence from the beings beneath. And it gives you a bit of lore. There are people using these to play Pirate Cove, obviously, which is quite fun. Here he is, Pirate Cove. This person is playing Disco, and it's simulating the past and training. This person's playing Biker Bar. It's all a laugh riot, of course. And there are scientists and all sorts of people here. It's really good fun once you've done everything. This is kind of the reward, I think, that is worth it. Is you can just have a look around at all this really fun stuff. VR training suite. And you get access to the command room, which is fun for a screensaver if you really want. I'll go up to that shortly. These people are doing VR fighting. This game, of course, has a VR mode. Everything I've said here is pretty much applicable to VR, except the stuff that obviously doesn't directly translate to beneath there. You know, you don't have a weapon in your pocket. You have two weapons at the same time. Now they've got all the info at the end. Done. What is the key? It's all fine. These people are still being trained because there are more forces beneath, apparently. The Trickster is kind of meant to be the main baddie of the lore, anyway. I won't get into a big discussion about the lore, that's kind of not that fun. I'm sure people have made videos about that or have talked about it before. If you're really interested in the lore, come and have a conversation in the Discord server for this game, it's always fun. But we are going to check out the command room, and then we'll probably leave it there, I think. So, I can't actually remember where the bloody thing is, to be honest. I think it's somewhere in this area. Here it is, yes it is. Command room, and you can see the general. I'm not sure exactly what he has. He has a he's a scroll and parchment of the different symbols of the gods, and then you get this nice observation deck where you can see down beneath in this little spiral. Very nice. And this guy, of course, looks remarkably like a pirate captain and Blackbeard. There's a scientist who's browsing the newspaper machine. That's a homage to the initial look of the menu in this game, and it's just a lot of fun stuff you can investigate having finished it. So, right, that's basically the end. I'm going to play a clip of the Construct Pursuer after this that I filmed in an earlier version of the tutorial that I'm not bothering with. As I've said again, final advice, the Brawler is genuinely good. The only problem is that some enemies you just cannot escape from easily. Hopefully you can take the hits if you take the Brawler. I do like the Spectre, but I think for newer players you just get wrecked and it's not very fun. But you do get enchanted weapons again, multiplayer is good. Now, I got quite a few Shard Lord kills there, and I got 8 shards of a Fallen God, which all saves. So I can get some of these upgrades. Free item 2, you can get more free items, for example, and better compass. Then you can see more stuff on the compass. All of that is pretty obvious as to what it does, but just in case it isn't, I will go down beneath and show you what that kind of thing does really quickly, and then I'll end off. It's a really interesting game. I think it's genuinely very challenging. That gives you 3 free items like this. And as you can see on my compass, I can now see a little Shard Lord icon, which tells you where the Shard Lord is if you want to avoid it or fight it. It's all really useful. So, I have been RaggedDan. I hope you found this video useful in some way. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I will get back to you because I will almost certainly read them. I get very few in comparison to many YouTubers. I can just browse them in the evening and see what people have to say. Yep, I will see you soon. Thanks very much for watching. And again, hopefully this helped. Here's a clip of the Construct Pursuer. Goodbye. So I'm going to just stand up on this box. There are flintlocks here if you want as well, by the way, but the cutlasses are perfectly fine. This is a cool design, by the way. You can look at it if you want for a while and get sick. It's actually a very, very big area. I'm surprised it runs so well as it does every time. But after the level's been beaten, I'm going to just sit here for around about 10 minutes. I'll just make a cut in the recording or a time-lapse or something. And we'll see if the Construct Pursuer shows up. If it hasn't done after around about 10 minutes, then I'll move on and try it again in another one of the Construct levels that we've still got to play, which are Prison and Disco. I'll see you in a sec. And as you can see here, so I resume the video, if you wait for long enough, there is a chance, and as far as I'm aware, it is a random chance, that the level darkens, and this very strange chap called the Pursuer has arrived, question mark is what the game says. It's called the Construct Pursuer in the community. He's a very difficult version of Katana boss with a laser katana, and this one he has a boxing glove. I believe he can have a pimp cane as well, pimp hat as well, possibly. But also he has white eyes that I've just cut off. I apologise. That's not. I couldn't show you the skin too carefully. A lot of health. As soon as we get him down, it should be all right. May need to use a few more weapons than this, but. Let's see if we can do it. The level does become dark, which obviously makes it harder, but I think I remember where a few things are, possibly. Just becomes a little bit difficult. We have to use these green lines to find out where everything are. Here we go. This is fine.
There we go, and the Construct Pursuer is down, and unlike normal pursuers, they behave very strangely. We get this thing called the Laser Katana from them, and if you have a lot of time on your hands, this is the best weapon in the game. Full stop. It is so much durability, and it's basically the Black Katana, but even better. As far as I'm aware, I'd have to check the weapon sheet to be sure about this, but I think it does. I think it just has more durability and does more damage. Pretty simple, and you can hold on to it for as long as you like in this run. There is also a remarkable little extra thing you can do with this. If you're crazy enough to take this all the way to the final fight, it skips the first, I guess, 2 waves of attacks that the end uses against you, the end boss in the whole game, the 4th Elder God. But this thing is massively, massively overpowered, and it's very cool. And it really doesn't break. I mean, it takes you 3 or 4 zones of caves or crystal caverns before this will have any danger of breaking, and it has a huge amount of cutting power, and it's just excellent. And it should allow us to get to the Trickster with no problem, and you can even enchant it and make it virtually unassailable.